Ladies and gentlemen, now today we are going to be breaking down the full abilities for Elsa Bloodstone. So it looks like kabam, they're trying to put the data miners out of business, man, dropping this champion spotlight super early for Elsa. And kind of reading through all of this, it doesn't really look like Elsa is going to be the next like beyond god tier, absolutely insane skill champion. She doesn't really look to be in the same league as like Aegon, Nick Fury, Blade. However, she does look like she does a couple of stuff very well, and also looks like she has some potential to deal some really ridiculous damage. And just her playstyle, it seems really fun as well. So I'm excited for Elsa. I'm getting a very like, you know, demigod vibe from this character, having a little bit of a read. But if the numbers are there, if the values are there when kind of scaled up and she like stacks in a certain way, there might be some crazy potential when it does come to Elsa, man. But she does look very fun. So anyway, let's have a bit of a chat about some of the mechanics of this character and go into her abilities. So the very first thing as well, Elsa has a couple of things that are going to make her like a little bit annoying to deal with on Alliance War defense. So I think she is going to be a little bit of a tricky defender. So when Elsa is affected by a bleed debuff, non-mutant champions gain a passive degeneration, dealing 145 direct damage every half a second until all bleed debuffs on Elsa end, and while degen is active, opponents are also heal blocked as well. So I don't think that is going to have like too much use on offense, but defense, you know, it makes her a little bit more annoying to fight, kind of removes some options. Again, another champion that doesn't seem like super friendly if you are playing Blade against. So yeah, that's just something that makes her a little bit annoying on Alliance War defense. But also, while suffering from a non-damaging debuff, Elsa has a 100% chance to purify one of any debuff every 2.6 seconds. So I'm not really too sure how this is going to work and kind of what buffs this is going to prioritize there. But it seems to have like some uses in matchups like the Invisible Woman and also Vision Arcus as well when you're playing this champion on offense. Maybe it's going to have even more uses in the future, but I'm curious to see whether or not this can like immediately absorb a parry, because if it can, man, this is going to make this champion like a lot more annoying on Alliance War defense as well. So that's a little bit of a pain. And also, after purifying a debuff, Elsa gains a precision buff, increasing crit rating by 2000 for 9 seconds. So again, matchups where she can purify a lot of non-damaging debuffs very quickly, you know, you're going to have a lot of additional crit rating to play around with there. And I imagine there are going to be champions and scenarios where this is very useful and nice to have. Also, a very interesting kind of well-timed block or parry mechanic here. So when performing a well-timed block on basic attacks, so this is mainly you know, when you're playing the champion here, Elsa has a 100% chance to evade, and then this ability goes on cooldown for 11 seconds. Then, when performing an evade, Elsa counterattacks with her revolver and deals 182 direct physical damage on hit, and this attack generates no power for the opponent. So it's a bit of an interesting one, because we don't really have any champions that have a mechanic like this, where you parry and instantly like counter the opponent. It does have, again, an 11-second cooldown, but hopefully you can like combo on from this. I kind of assume you can, but this is really good for like stun immune champions, and I think certain matchups where you don't really have access to the parry mastery, I'm curious to see how it works for certain champions like Mordo, for example, as well. But this is a little bit of an interesting one, man, so I'm very curious to see this in action. But it does look very fun for kind of keeping pace of the fight, but also this mitigates block damage as well, because instead of taking like a parry, you instantly evade and then go into a counter attack. So I think that does have its uses, man. Some scenarios where that is going to be very useful, but I like it. I like a very interesting, unique mechanic like that one. Next up, we got the enhanced munitions. So Elsa loads her Winchester with Hellfire rounds and her revolvers with Behemoth busters, and each gun can fire 6 rounds before having to reload, and reloading lasts 11 seconds, but for each stack of reload you have, it increases Elsa's offensive power rate by 40% there. So yeah, this is a really interesting mechanic, man. So ideally what you want to do, I'll cover the Behemoth busters first, because ideally I think you want to dump all of these first onto the opponent. So on hit, you inflict a busted debuff, increasing the potency of incoming incinerate or cold snap debuffs by 50% for 21 seconds. Additionally, each time the opponent is struck by a critical hit, you deal damage equal to about 25% of your base attack for each busted debuff. And I think especially with the special 2, you should be able to like apply 5 of these in very quick succession, to the best of my knowledge, because looking at the hits and animations, it looks like she fires the revolver 5 times in the special 2. So yeah, I think you can get these up really quickly. So that's 300% more incinerating cold snap damage, and also 150% of your attack as direct damage every time you crit. And then it's like 11 seconds to reload, and kind of rinse and repeat there, but that looks really interesting. And then on with the Winchester rounds, the Hellfire rounds, these are fired off by medium combo enders, and also the special 1. So on hit, you inflict an incinerate debuff, dealing 608 energy damage over 11 seconds. But this also removes perfect block chance and reduces block proficiency by 50% there. However, if the opponent has triggered an evade or they are immune to incinerate, a matching cold snap debuff is inflicted instead, which prevents evade from activating. So I think that means if the opponent is evaded like once in the fight, then you instantly get the cold snap instead of the incinerate. So I think that's going to make her like a really good evade counter, man. This looks very promising, but also I like the fact that, you know, if you can't deal incinerate damage, there is like cold snap damage as well. I think that's really good, especially for certain like science matchups like Void, Red Hulk, and also in the skill class Night Thrasher as well. So yeah, I enjoy a mechanic like that, but that seems very good as well. And again, you can enhance this damage by up to 300%, I believe, maybe even a little bit more, man, via the Behemoth Busters and firing off the special 2 there. So that seems really cool. I kind of like these mechanics. They seem very fun to play around with. And on top of that, we do have the special attacks as well. So the special attack 1 is focused fire. So on activation, you gain a precision buff, increasing critical rating by 3000 for 9 seconds. However, this buff is actually paused until Elsa activates her next special attack. So yeah, I think that's going to have some really good value. You're gonna get so much duration out of that one, because you fire it off, you get like the massive crit rating increase, and then it doesn't start like decaying on the 9-second timer until you fire off your next special attack. So that's really awesome there. And again, every time you crit the opponent, if you have the Behemoth Busters on and stacks of that, which you are going to have, I assume, like pretty much all of the time, you're going to be dealing additional direct damage as well, and this is going to like bypass any sort of like physical or energy resistance there, I would assume. So yeah, some really great stuff, man. There's some crazy combos, especially with the special 1 there, but a lot of crits, a lot of damage by the look of it, coming from like the 3 different sources of like basic attack damage, direct damage, and then either incinerate or cold snap damage. So I think it's all going to add up to you know, provide like a really solid level of damage output. So I'm interested to see the numbers, man. I'm very interested to see the numbers. So the special attack 2 doesn't really have anything like super special on it. Again, this one is used to fire the Behemoth Busters, but if you don't have any of these loaded up at the moment, instead you fire your Hellfire rounds. And again, looking at the animation, there should be like 5 hits on the special 2 that do trigger the rounds, so that should be a really good time. And then we got the special attack 3. I don't know if this is going to be like too useful, but hey, it seems alright. So you gain up to 3 cruelty buffs, and this is again on, I believe, like maxed out 4-star stats. So 5-star stats are going to be a little bit more than this. So each one of these increases Elsa's critical damage rating by 222 for 22 seconds. And these cruelty buffs expire 1 at a time. And each time Elsa triggers a reloading effect, she refreshes their duration. So these should, in all fairness, like remain like infinitely refreshed. But I'm curious to see if you can like keep on stacking these up, because if you can, like over a much longer fight as well, it might add even more value. And like thinking about content like Labyrinth of Legends, because Elsa does have this mechanic, instead of like parrying, she's gonna like evade and then counter attack. Maybe she's gonna be a really good champion for content like Labyrinth, because nodes like Limber aren't really going to affect her like as much as the average champion. So yeah, I think there's a lot of really curious stuff about Elsa, man. I think she does have a lot of potential, but I'm very interested to see how she's going to interact with everything. But she's got a way to gain a lot of crit, a lot more crit damage by the look of it, get a lot more damage on all of her hits, like apply a very nasty incinerating cold snap. So, you know, damage looks quite promising there, but also there's more damage via the signature ability and a couple other synergies as well. So when fighting science champions, critical hits with the Hellfire rounds deal an additional 1,824 damage, and I think this is roughly the equivalent to about 150% of Elsa's base attack there. So that seems quite nice. I'm interested to see if it's like just the hit itself or actually the incinerate as well. But against a lot of science champions, again, where she does have the class advantage, that is just an even further advantage there. So that seems quite nice. But also when fighting large or extra large champions, critical hits with the Behemoth Busters deal an additional 1,824 damage. So again, approximately 150% of Elsa's base attack, but a lot of science champions like Hulk, Red Hulk, also the Thing, are large champions or extra large champions. So in like a really good amount of the science matchups, you are going to have benefit from both of these as well. So yeah, that seems pretty awesome, but she does look like she's geared up to be a fairly decent science killer for the most part. But also Elsa's critical damage rating is increased by 857 when fighting the final node in a quest. So I think for maybe like Thing bosses, Invisible Woman bosses, she doesn't have a way to like reduce ability accuracy reduction or deal with Unstoppable for the Thing boss, but I think she does have, by the look of it, a lot of damage output that isn't like mitigated by Thing's mechanics. So yeah, I think there's some interesting like potential when it comes to Alliance War at the moment, especially considering like half of the bosses are either like Thing or Invisible Woman. So I'm not too sure about that one, man, but we're gonna have to see. And then we have synergy bonuses. So we got Hunting Party with Darkhawk. So Elsa Bloodstone, when fighting villains, Elsa gains the effects of level 1 Assassin Mastery. But if you already have the Assassin Mastery, it instead activates when the opponent is below 25% of their maximum health. So that's an alright little bonus there. It's nothing like too crazy, just kind of brings the Assassin's range you know, from 18% up to 25%, maybe makes her a little bit Electra-esque, but, you know, it seems alright to have. Maybe it's going to have its uses when it does come to, like, the Abyss of Legends, or maybe Labyrinth of Legends, but who knows, man, who knows. And then we got Darkhawk. So Darkhawk instantly charges 50% of a bar of power when entering a mode from a different mode. So I think that's, like, alright for Darkhawk, but it's nothing, like, super insane for Darkhawk. Yeah, so yeah, it's just okay by the look of it. And then we've got Beauty and the Beast. So Elsa Bloodstone, the cooldown for Elsa's evade counter attack is reduced by 2 seconds. So from 11 seconds down to 9 seconds, and Beast Special 3 Fury is maintained until his combo count is reset. So I'm curious to see how that one works and functions, man. I don't think it's going to be enough to kind of bring Beast back from the graveyard, but who knows, it could work out really nicely. So we'll see how that one works out there. And then she's just got some crit with Dr. Octopus and Scarlet Witch and Carnage there, and also what is it, a little bit of armor rating with Wolverine. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the most part. So I think Elsa Bloodstone, again, I don't think there's anything in terms of her abilities that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely game-changing, or she's not really like stacked with lots of high-value utility, but I'm quite interested to see her damage output, and also how kind of like this evade counter-attack on Parry performs, because that does seem very fun, but also against matchups where there are non-damaging debuffs, I think she could be quite useful. So yeah, we'll see how she does against matchups like Invisible Woman. But overall, man, I think Elsa Bloodstone, she seems like a pretty cool addition to the game, but let me know what you think in the comments section below. Are you excited for Elsa Bloodstone? Does she seem a little bit disappointing? What are your thoughts on this brand new champion? But we're going to find out next week, man, exactly how good this character is. Anyway, if you did enjoy today's breakdown, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.